Hello folks, Mike Gilligan, Smash Parental Alienation here again. It's May 2016. I'm going to continue my series on alienating parents' top actions. Today I'm going to discuss points 5 and 6. Point 5 reads, accomplishes a post-visitation shakedown, extracting as much info as possible and that information which is negative. That's probably what's done with my boys. Not so much that I'm aware of, but I could tell you this much. The post-visitation shakedown was very much in effect. I can't tell you how many times I would show up to pick up my children at a rendezvous point, whether at the house or at a park or someplace where she was shopping. And I would always bend and meet wherever. Bagel store, that happened many times. But as soon as I would get there, and my visitation ran from Sunday to Monday when I had Mondays off. Pick them up 10 o'clock in the morning. I'd have them overnight, really, and keep them till 7 o'clock at night on Monday. Take them to school, so forth and so on. But on Sunday morning, usually I'd show up, and this happened very frequently, was the boys would approach me and tell me that they'd have to come home early. And this was constant. We have to be home by 5 o'clock. We got a party. We're going to a birthday party today, Dad, one of our friends' birthday party. So I would say, okay, then Dad would take you to the birthday party. And then Mom would interject, and she would get all crazy, and, I don't know these people, they don't know you. And I'm like, why do they have to know me? I said, I'm pretty friendly. I'll introduce myself that I'm Kyle and Liam's dad, and what's the problem? And it was always a contention, and the boys were always put out on the front line of confronting me with this stuff, and it was totally inappropriate. And it was also these events usually were known days in advance, and arrangements could have been made, reasonably a couple of days before, or at least 24 hours before, to let me know what's going on. And I'm totally sympathetic that hey, listen, I don't live there in the house anymore, and I'm that I'm going to have to adjust. That's not a problem for me. But it was always, the boys were always put in a very uncomfortable situation, and I'd have to cut them off, and then I'd have to confront my ex-wife. And this is what went down. The pre-visitation shakedown was very prevalent in my situation, and a lot of times, to keep the peace, I would relent. I would bring them home, or you know what I mean. I didn't want to make waves. I didn't want to create conflict for my sons, but it did upset me, and it was always done in a way to shock me, in a way to ambush me. To try to create a domestic incident. That's basically what it comes down to. And I did a very fair job at controlling myself, even though that, inside I was, seething. So that's pretty much, point 5. And this could be, I'm sure that my ex, questioned my sons to death on a post-visitation. And, I would hear things about, did you do this with them? This and that and the other thing. Why did you dress them like this? Or stupid stuff like that. You know what I mean? And I would just in one ear and out the other. Okay, point number 6. Hands the phone directly to the child when you call, avoiding even civil conversations with you. That's totally true. I would call and, many times I would call and she would say they're not available, or, I'd call at a reasonable hour, like 7 in the evening. Oh, they're sleeping. And this kind of nonsense. And the cutting off communication is so typical of an alienating parent. They do it just to get you going, just to get under your skin. That's the accomplishment that they want to do. I had problems with the ex-wife listening in on the conversations that me and my sons were having, normal conversations, and I would ask them questions, and I'd actually hear her give them the answer. And I'd be like, I'd tell them to stop. I said, hand the phone to Mommy, and I would tell her, stop interfering with their conversation. Let them have a conversation with their dad. Why are you hanging over them? this is what goes on in that situation. The phone, yeah, forget about it. I mean, I gave them phones and they never used them. She wouldn't allow it. I had to threaten her with larceny of the phones. My oldest son right now has one of my phones. The contract for the additional phones I have ends in July. I'm not going to renew them. It's just wasting money. In 2 years I had these phones, and she just wouldn't let them use them. She has her own phone for him, and and she monitors that to death. And it's been blocked from me now. That phone has been blocked from my number. I can't even call that phone without it going to a message. But this is what she does. And cutting off communication any way, shape, or form is the main goal of an alienating parent. And again, I'm out here just trying to give examples and give a point of identification for people who may be suffering from parental alienation. We're starting this March, May 14th, with Dr. Carlos Rivera from Montauk Point, and we're going to get together and we're going to, wear shirts that represent our position in with this unique family problem, and which is basically child abuse, mental child abuse, psychological child abuse, and we're going to do our best to bring attention to this problem and understand the points that I talk about. These are all things that our court system is they thrive on these things. I've been told in the hallway of a courtroom, there's nothing that we could really do. We're not going to lock her up, Mr. Gilligan. And, but on the other hand, if Mr. Gilligan wasn't paying child support, he'd be in debtor's prison for 6 months like my friend Carlos Rivera. You know what I mean? They wouldn't think twice about it. But if mom withholds the children, don't you think that she should get? Do you think she should get child support? I don't think she should. You know what I mean? And I have no problem giving child support. You know what I mean? I have a problem giving it to the government now, having them taking it from my paycheck, from my pension. I have a problem with that. You know what I mean? Because they're only doing it because they could show proof. The county and state could show proof to the federal government they're collecting money to get federal funds off of it. And that's the main goal. It's all about money. It's not about protecting kids or safety of kids. This is all a campaign fluff that these government bureaucrats throw at you to make you believe that yes, we're worried, we're concerned about our citizens, and it really has nothing to do with that. It has to do with about money in their pocket and money to counties like Suffolk County, New York, which is broke and on the verge of going in the tank. And they'll do whatever they have to do to tax the people and get funding to keep their lives at a standard that they want, and it's usually BMWs, $1.5 million homes and up, this, that, and the other thing, and and if they were getting it legitimately, I don't have a problem with that, but they're exploiting the lower and middle class in America, and it's got to stop. And the judges, they stand on the bench and they sell services to people who are campaign donors to them, or campaign donors to a friend of theirs. I mean, this is how it works. It's corruption. It's legal corruption in a lot of ways, because there's no giving donations to a candidate, a judge, a politician is legal. But this is how they operate, and we need to put that to a stop. And and that's about it for today. And just understand, one day at a time. And I'm feeling the energy. I'm not all that upset. You know what I mean? I have my ups and downs. I'm feeling pretty good, so I'm going to continue on with these points. And I'll have another video later on. Thank you very much for listening. Have a great day. Bye-bye.